Hello everybody, thank you for tuning in. In this video, we're going to continue our study in Isaiah 10:6 and John 8, verse 20. There's actually more we could reveal. So I'll link the video below if you're not caught up. But what I didn't mention in the last video, we talked about the whole taxi driver relation to Messiah, how that's just a watered down story of the prophecy of Christ, because the world secretly had all this information about the second coming of Christ throughout thousands of years and generations. But we can actually, with the understanding we have now, we could decipher the little secrets the world has. And of course, it led the world to no avail, because, they did the Holocaust, they did 9/11, they did all this stuff, and it all failed. They never get it right. So, invented Christmas, they invented Halloween, the 4th of July, all this stuff was to counter the truth of the second coming of Christ. And it doesn't work. So, let's just talk about the Mohawk really quick. So, at some point in Taxi Driver, we see Robert De Niro having a mohawk. Now, we should be thinking of the Mayan culture, the Mormon culture, the Israelites in South America as well. And what that in our Bibles, hair is symbolic of honor, and what that represents is our singleness of mind. Right? When Christ was crucified, there were two robbers, one on his left and one on his right. The one who rejected him was on his left-hand side. The one who accepted him was on his right-hand side. This is a representation of the duality that we all possess. We all have an evil nature and we all have a good nature. And it's only through Jesus that brings that together. Hence, this is why we see Robert De Niro bearing a mohawk in Taxi Driver, a mere watered-down depiction of Christ's second coming. Okay, so in the last video, we covered how Isaiah 10:6 is a future prophecy of the second coming of Christ that we can actually see in John chapter 8. The Targum translation goes into further detail, calling him an angel, pretty much unveiling the secret of Joseph's Technicolor raincoat, that he will have access to other realms that Satan will not be able to have. The mysteries of the blessings of the kingdom that will come in the last days will confound the wicked. Amazingly enough, what we didn't cover is when we look at the Septuagint translation, it reveals another facet of this prophecy, is that not only Christ will be doing these things, but God's saints and elect will be doing these things. And this confirms the prophecies we see in the book of Enoch, the wisdom of Solomon. It just goes on and on. The saints of God will be judging the nations, and there will be sparks to the stubble. Now, there's even more insight we could unveil going back to the Targum translation. Notice the last line. And to place him for a treading underfoot like the mire of the streets. Okay? So, the Standard King James says he will tread down the wicked like the mire in the streets. But it's interesting, the Targum translation says that he will be, and to place him for a treading underfoot like the mire of the streets. Okay? So the scriptures are multidimensional, multifaceted. What you do unto others will be done to yourself. And you can't capture all that in the English language in a single sentence. So basically, yes, I think the scriptures are saying Christ will be tread down as the mire in the streets, as he himself will tread down the enemies of the mire of the streets. But it's a little more complicated than that. Okay, so here we are in John chapter 8. We're going to focus on verses 20 through 24. Okay, the key phrases are highlighted. Of course, we see, no man laid hands on him, for his hour has not yet come. We see Jesus saying, where I go, you cannot come. And of course, the kicker is in verse 22, where the Jews say, will he kill himself? Because he says, where I go, you cannot come. Okay, so this, we could start to see what we just discovered in the Targum translation unfold, that as Jesus himself will tread his enemies down as the mire of the streets, he himself will be tread down as the mire in the streets. But, it's not so even like that. The scribes say, the Jews say, will he kill himself? Because he says, where I go, you cannot come. And Jesus says, you are from beneath, I am from above. You are of this world, I am not this world. So we could start to begin to understand that even though Christ is going to be tread down like the mire in the streets, but he has access to other realms. He has access to a higher heaven, blessings that the wicked won't even be able to perceive. So we could actually find answers to this mystery in a text called the Second Treatise of the Great Seth. This is found in the Nag Hammadi Library, and this text is literally coming to pass right before our very eyes. So what does it reveal? It basically reveals that when Christ returns, having access to all the realms of Satan and other realms of the higher heavens, that he will come down to earth and appear in different forms, in seemingly copies of himself. And when you study the Nag Hammadi scriptures, we realize our current material existence is just a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy, which we slowly ascend upwards. This is why we have parallel universes. This is why you see, if those of you who are aware, literally copies of people or people who look like people and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to take a listen to an excerpt from the Second Treatise of the Great Seth. If you are interested in this information, I suggest reading the text because it gets into it in full spiritual detail. But let's listen to an excerpt, and we have this mystery. So, Christ is going to be tread down like the mire in the streets, but we're going to learn how it's not really going to be him that they're treading down. It's really going to be themselves.
They hatched a plot against me to counter the destruction of their error and foolishness, and I did not give in to them as they had planned. I was not hurt at all. Though they punished me, I did not die in actuality, but only in appearance, that I might not be put to shame by them, as if they are a part of me. I freed myself of shame, and I did not become faint-hearted because of what they did to me. I would have become bound by fear, but I suffered only in their eyes and thought, that nothing may ever be claimed about them. The death they think I suffered, they suffered in their error and blindness. They nailed their man to their death. Their thoughts did not perceive me, since they were deaf and blind. By doing these things they pronounced judgment against themselves. As for me, they saw me and punished me, but someone else, their father, drank the gall and the vinegar. It was not I. They were striking me with a scourge, but someone else, Simon, bore the cross on his shoulder. Someone else wore the crown of thorns, and I was on high, poking fun at all the excess of the rulers and the fruit of their error and conceit. I was laughing at their ignorance. I brought down all their powers into subjection. When I came down, no one saw me, for I kept changing my forms on high, transforming from shape to shape. So when I was at their gates, I assumed their likeness. I passed by them quickly. I saw their realms, but was not afraid or ashamed, because I was pure. I was speaking with them and mingling with them, those who are mine. Jealously I trampled on those who are harsh towards them, and I put out that fire. I was doing all this by my will, to complete what I willed in the will of the Father above.
So there we have it, a mystery seemingly solved. Though Christ will be in contempt, as even the Nostradamus prophecies talk about this, but we learn the truth. It's not really going to be him. It's going to be a copy of him, likely. He, as the Second Treatise of the Great Seth says, he's going to be taking other forms, and really, what Satan is going to be doing, as he always does, is really crucifying himself. It was Simon, the rock, the one that is faithful, that bore the cross for Christ. He carried the cross for Christ. Okay? It's not really us who are afflicted. It's just our sin nature. It's just our temporary being in this world. It's our resurrected self that lives forever. That's ineffable light, ineffable glory from the Father's kingdom. That gains all the victory and joy through crucifixion. And so, yeah, I don't know. It seems we have solved the mystery in this scripture. We could put this stuff together. It's quite amazing. Thank you for tuning in. I pray this is a blessing. God bless you.
Woe to those who build unrighteousness and oppression, and lay deceit as a foundation, for they shall suddenly overthrown, and they shall have no peace. Woe to those who build their houses with sin, for from all of their foundations they shall be overthrown, and by the sword shall they fall. And those who acquire gold and silver in judgment suddenly shall perish. Woe to you, ye rich, for ye have trusted in your riches, and from your riches shall ye depart, because you have not remembered the Most High in the days of your riches. Ye have committed blasphemy and unrighteousness, and have become ready for the day of slaughter, and the day of darkness, and the day of great judgment. Who has permitted you to practice reproaches and wickedness? And so judgment shall overtake you, sinners. Fear not the sinners, ye righteousness, for again the Lord will deliver them into your hands, that ye may execute judgment upon them according to your desires. Woe to you who fulminate anathemas which cannot be reversed. Healing shall therefore be far from you because of your sins. Woe to you who requite your neighbor with evil, for ye shall be requited according to your works. Woe to you, lying witnesses, and to those who weigh out injustice, for suddenly shall ye perish. Woe to you, sinners, for ye persecute the righteous. For ye shall be delivered up and persecuted because of injustice, and heavy shall its yoke be upon you. Be hopeful, ye righteous, for suddenly shall the sinners perish before you, and ye shall have lordship over them according to your desire. And in the day of the tribulation of the sinners, your children shall mount and rise as eagles, and higher than the vultures will be your nest. And ye shall ascend and enter the crevices of the earth, and the clefts of the rock forever, as conveys before the unrighteous, and the sirens shall sigh because of you, and weep. Wherefore fear not, ye that have suffered, for healing shall be your portion, and a bright light shall enlighten you, and the voice of rest ye shall hear from heaven. Woe unto you, ye sinners, for your riches make you appear like righteous, but your hearts convict you of being sinners. And this fact shall be a testimony against you for a memorial of your evil deeds. Woe to you who devour the finest of the wheat, and drink wine in large bowls, and tread under foot the lowly with your might. Woe to you who drink water from every fountain, for suddenly ye shall be consumed and wither away, because ye have forsaken the fountain of life. Woe to you who work unrighteousness and deceit and blasphemy. It shall be a memorial against you for your evil. Woe to you, ye mighty, who with might oppress the righteous, for the day of your destruction is coming. In those days many and good days shall come to the righteous in the day of your judgment. Believe, ye righteous, that the sinners will become ashamed and perish in the day of unrighteousness. What will ye do, ye sinners? And whither will ye flee on that day of judgment, when ye hear the voice of prayer of the righteous? Yea, you shall fare like unto them, against whom this word shall be a testimony. Ye have been companions of sinners. And in those days the prayer of the righteous shall reach unto the Lord, and for you the days of your judgment shall come. And all the words of your unrighteousness shall be read out before the great Holy One, and your faces shall be covered with shame, and he will reject every work which is grounded on unrighteousness.